The elf princess gets hit by the fire. She starts screaming, "My rooster! My beautiful rooster! It's all gone!" The party starts laughing at her. She starts crying and she dies.
Hello, SkyDieRay here, executing greentext protocol.dnd. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another greentext.
Hope you're having a wonderful day today. Before jumping into the video, I just want to quickly kindly ask you if you're not yet subscribed to the channel too. Consider doing so now. It only takes a moment, you can undo it later if you want. And yeah, I appreciate it a lot, so thanks so much for that. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. But before we jump into the video, a short word from today's sponsor. Raid Shadow Legends is a mobile and PC game where you can explore millions of champion combinations and tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, and more. The game has just celebrated their 3rd anniversary, and along many updates, I want to tell you about the new faction, the Shadowkin, which is a tribe of warriors, and I think they're one of the coolest looking factions in the game. This month, Raid has an event for the summer solstice, with new champions coming out, as well as skins and rewards to be unlocked. Also, there's a special event for all players to get the brand new legendary champion Deliana just by logging in and playing Raid for 7 days before July 20th. And for new players, if you enter promo code MyDeliana before July 20th, you get 50 XP brews and a ton of silver. Use my link or scan the QR code on screen and new players will get a starter pack with a free champion, Tyrell, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill and the ancient shard. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring today's video. Alright, looks like we're starting with another AI generated green text today. Be me, living in Innsmouth, be really into D&D, and want to start a campaign. Go to the library to find some books on D&D. The librarian tells me that there's a D&D campaign happening right now. I go to the address and it's a house. Knock on the door. An old man answers. He looks really creepy. I ask if I can join the campaign and he says sure. Go inside. The house is really dark and musty. I see a bunch of people sitting around the table and they're all playing D&D. I sit down and start playing. We're playing for hours and I'm having a blast. Suddenly, the old man says that it's time for lunch. Everyone gets up and leaves. I'm left alone in the house. I hear a noise from the basement and I go to investigate. I find a secret room and in the room there's a bunch of people chained up. They're all gagged. I see the old man coming down the stairs and he sees me and starts laughing. He says, "Welcome to my campaign." Anon hates Tomb of Horrors. The hardest dungeon ever. It's just save or die traps. Except there is no save. What was Gygax actually trying to achieve here? Did he really think that he was getting one up on his arrogant players? How would modern D&D players react to these kinds of traps? Everything in 5th edition feels like an easy save for pretty minuscule damage. Wyverns being tied up and milk. Why do you keep doing this to me? Excuse me, Sir Lich, I'm here as a representative for the Dungeon Regulation Agency. We've heard disturbing reports and complaints from the public about your dungeon being too difficult. Sir, I'm sorry, but this crushing trap breaks several regulations. It has no ventilation for gas and has no escape method for adventurers to avoid death. Furthermore, poison on pointed objects is strictly forbidden on a spiked roof. This sphere also breaks the regulations. There is no outward sign saying or hinting that there is a trap, and unresistible effects, while not illegal, are frowned upon for being unfair. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to shut down this whole dungeon. Until changes are made, your villain license is suspended and you may not enact any plans, schemes, ideas, or influence until you have a dungeon that meets requirements. Well, Gygax was notoriously really bad at game design. That's it. Finger of Death. Raise dead. Resume scheming. Because aren't people? Bimi, the DM, running a homebrew 5th edition campaign in a city controlled by elves where humans are second-class citizens because they rioted 300 years ago when a plague that only targets humans broke out and the elves tried to quarantine them. The players are searching for a halfling practicing the forbidden magic of enchantment. They overhear some ladies of the night talking about the said halfling as they apparently frequent his home. They surprise the halfling in bed with 6 ladies of various races and he has all of them dominated. Combat starts and the nude woman surrounds the halfling who commands them to act as living shields. The players order the 8-year-old NPC wild magic sorceress to use an AoE spell which drops all but one of the The artificer bashes the remaining one's head in and yeah, my party is full of monsters. Jesus Christ, dude, what the hell did I just read here? No, I mean, that's really brutal from the party. That's, I don't know, did they assume that they are all bad people and deserving to die? I don't get it, that's just... Really like the first comment. I didn't ask you how many innocents were in the room. I said I cast fireball. That seems more or less like the thought process of that person. the story of my most hated D&D antagonist. So, I play Dungeons & Dragons and was DMing for a group of friends. I am blatantly unoriginal and tend to rip my campaign villains from elsewhere. I had run Dio for a previous encounter, ended up using Fate characters in another, but that's not really important right now. What is important is that I ran the Slaughterhouse 9 as one encounter and how Jack Slash, their leader, broke my IRL players' spirits and nearly drove them mad. To give context on the Slaughterhouse 9, they are a group of murder hobos from a web serial named Worm. They live in a minivan and ride around from town to town, murdering, torturing and traumatizing everyone in those towns. As the name implies, they normally have 9 members, who are Burnscar, a pyrokinetic who can teleport within her flames and is immune to fire damage. Hatchetface, power nullifier with 30 feet range, and I ruled it as within that range you lose practically all class features. Can still hit him from range as he nullifies people within the area, not an actual anti-magic field. The Siberian, immortal, unstoppable, incredibly lethal projection projected by an ordinary guy, normally a few mile range. I gave him 100 feet range. Siberian had 5d10 force damage attacks, unmitigable, and attacked 4 or 5 times a turn. Bonesaw, the biological tinkerer. Enchantments, plagues, and mad scientist. I was too lazy to make a stat block, so she got redefined to generic healer. Crawler, minivan-sized creature who evolves in response to what hurts him, becoming immune to it. Every time he was hit by a damage type, he gained 25% resistance to it until he was completely immune. Cherish, emotional manipulator. Can alter emotions that people are feeling. Would make people lose turns and prevented the barbarian from raging. The rest aren't that important, but the big part is their leader, Jack Slash. He has 2 powers. One is to make melee bladed attacks within 30 feet of him, and the other is that he can essentially talk to people's powers. In the serial, his power will talk to other powers and subconsciously tell him what he needs to know to survive and win. Because of this, it's practically impossible for a superpowered individual to beat him, because he's a near perfect precognitive against them. My take on Jack's thinker power, in a way that was still player fair, is that every time it's his turn, he insults everyone and they need to make a wisdom saving throw, roll a dice, and if they fail, they get +1 to their counter's Jack counter. When you attack Jack Slash, he rolls a 20-sided die. If he rolls above a 23, he automatically dodges the attack. Every counter that a character has, the 23 is reduced by 1. The party, in their stupidity of course, ignored Jack in the beginning, electing to focus on bigger threats such as the Crawler, the Siberian, Burnscar and Cherish, who was a threat because the party's strongest member needed to get really angry to use her class feature, the Barbarian's Rage ability. As such, and since Jack did little damage, they ignored him and took on the rest of the 9. One by one, their Jack counters went up, eventually realizing that Jack was dodging all of their attacks and reached a point when he had like a 65% dodge change, and it was only going up. Eventually, the party ended the 9 with the husband of the party's paladin making a trick shot against Dr. Manton and popping the Siberian like a soap bubble. Unfortunately, Jack had grown too slippery. He had like 90% evasion by that point, and the party was literally crying over how they could do literally nothing to him. Our fighter ended up casting Wish, which is exactly what the name implies. Gods got involved at that point, and Jack got his beat at that point. But his memory forever scarred my players. During the final battle against the party, the boss resurrected all of the villains that the party had fought up to that point, and I described the Kung Fury version of walking through the afterlife portal. Dio also walks through. The party doesn't really respond to much, just acknowledges them and readies their weapons. I then tell them that Jack Slash walks through the portal. They all start screaming and crying. It was at this point that a friend of mine who I had called in to play the extra villains I summoned made an interesting comment. I'm not sure who this Jack Slash character is, but I'm mildly concerned by the fact that he appears to be more Revel than Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, no, they do have a lot of hate for him, I guess. You wanted a tank? I'll give you a dang tank. Bimmy, Osmodius Kane, the Simic hybrid barbarian fighter. Have a whole backstory and personality using a suboptimal build. Die in the first session. Draw with a gun. She crits. And I don't even get death saves. Be cool with it, and the GM is thankful for a forgiving player. Be not completely cool with it. The GM lets players get really messy with character stats using point buy. Jack up con and dex to the max and all mental stats under 10. Buy a shield and take the tough feat. Make a barbarian bear totem and rogue thief. Pick the random NPC token from the tavern. Half orc chef with a rooster. And thus, Dave the chef was born. 22 AC, with resistant to almost everything, hits like a truck on crits and can uncanny dodge. Draw did not survive the next encounter. Le Cook the Fey Rooster approves. Oh Jesus Christ, there's the stats posted in the comments. 10 strength, 20 dex and 20 con. So far so good, right? But then you have 6 int, 6 wisdom and 3 on charisma, dude. Jesus Christ. Anons have bankers for GMs. DM's banking self-insert loans you the gold for starting items at a 24% APR. Half the time every session is spent avoiding creditors and fighting loan sharks. Credit score is so low that we can only get quests from the most disreputable NPCs. And there's a looming threat of debtor's prison weighing on the PCs. That face when fixed income Archlich downgrades your adventuring party's bonds rating. New yield curve means that we can't afford to service our current debt. Have to file for bankruptcy before the party can even confront him. Only out is to send a representative to the Interplanar Monetary Guild for a bailout. I knew that our group shouldn't have agreed to play derivatives and dragons. The DM forgets to put any treasure, gets angry when we stop following his storyline and begin robbing merchants and farms. Party finds a mountain of gold in a dungeon, points out that we have no way to transport it. Every time. I put in treasure, but it is mostly in silver and copper. Gold is rare. Daily living has a price. Sleeping in the inn or the stable risks disease and thieves. It's for immersion, but also so that they can value a gold coin. They can also usually rob the gear from someone that they killed for something better than what they started with. Find what we think is gold. Actually, radioactive with a short half-life. Most of it lead by the time we reach town. Hair and teeth falling out. He has living expenses, he needs personal possessions of any kind, and he doesn't have the skills to lead a comfy life in the woods. Ah yes, this happens all the time. Be me, DM, be not me. 4 normie players. One of them plays an elf princess that loves Rooster. She's always talking about how much she loves Rooster, and how she's going to ride a rooster one day. One day, the party is fighting a dragon. The dragon breathes fire on the party, and the elf princess gets hit by the fire. She starts screaming, "My rooster! My beautiful rooster! It's all gone!" The party starts laughing at her. She starts crying and she dies. How to be trained by your dragon. Be me, 14th level barbarian in 5th edition Eberron. Be not me, necromancer, druid and ranger. Just finished a training montage a la Rocky after getting destroyed in a 1v1 fight. Training montage supervised by elf known as the Huntress. DM basically implies that she's been around forever and is wise beyond comparison. For my final test, she transforms into her true form, an ancient white dragon. My character learns the true power of friendship and fights her with his teammates. She stops us just before going down and transforms back into an elf, stating that my training is complete. Necromancer player cracks, and then they boned. Look at the DM, and I can see in his eyes that he doesn't want me to try and bone his ancient wise dragon waifu. Can I roll to seduce? Oh wow, look at that. A natural 20 save behind the screen. Oh come on, after all that self-discovery? DM is silent. Against my better judgment. I roll a straight 16 and the DM rolls in front of the screen. And of course it's a natural 20. I'm flattered, but you're just a bit small. Party cackling. Feels bad, man, that JPEG. At least he let you do the attempt and he did actually roll the natural 20 legitimately, so you know, props to him I guess, for taking that risk. Alright, on that note, that's gonna be it for today's video, so thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like if you did and subscribe for more if you haven't already. Also, big thank you to everyone supporting the channel on Patreon as well as here on YouTube, I appreciate it a lot, so thank you so much for that. Links below if you want to check those out, links to the social media, Discord server, and anything else. And yeah, that's it, thanks again for watching, I'll see you next time, have a great day, bye!